both have the same guy here at number 5 on our list. It is Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle from Ohio State. So I'll take the lead on this one. I like Josh Simmons a lot. He has elite flexibility for the position. He's able to slide and mirror defenders while having good pad level. Was really playing elite ball this past year before going down with an injury. 82 grade on true pass sets in kind of half a season this year. Good hand usage, balanced footwork, good core strength. He's a 94th percentile athlete in our GAS score. Now, why is he number 5, not a little bit higher? Because I see a lot of people have him as OT2, OT3, maybe even OT1 in this draft. I think context is really important with Josh Simmons. He has less than half a year of elite production, and that came this year against really easy competition. He played Akron, Western Michigan, Marshall, Michigan State, Iowa, and then less than half of the Oregon game. He went down early on in the second quarter of that Oregon game with his torn patellar tendon. And also, if you might hear that and say, wait, he played Marshall. Mike Green's at Marshall. So that means if he had a good grade there, that means he has to have he's a really good player. Mike Green only played, I think, 1 snap as a pass rusher against Josh Simmons. He lined up primarily over the right tackle for Ohio State in that game. And then across 2022 and 2023 at Ohio State and San Diego State, where he transferred from, he had a 62 grade across his 2 years. It wasn't like he had, elite tape from the 2 years before either. Obviously, I mentioned before, torn patellar tendon, but he did say he should be good to go in mid-April for his own pro day, which is good, very good news for Josh Simmons. I don't think he'll ever displace defenders in the run game. Not really a strong player. He's got a 58.9 career run blocking grade and 33-inch arms as well, which is 12th percentile for tackles. I think Josh Simmons is one of the biggest boom or bust prospects in this draft. His pass blocking tape this year was elite, but like I said before, it came in 5.5 games against very, very easy competition. He has traits that you want to bet on, and I completely understand why he's projected as a first-round pick, but the production, I think, is severely lacking when you compare it to all the other top tackles that Dalton and I will get to in our 4 through 1. They have production that is just, I think, way better than what Josh Simmons has right now.
The best way I can put this is Simmons' good tape is really good. The good tape is really good. There's also a lot of inconsistent in his game that we've seen going back to his time at San Diego State and then at Ohio State. I think you mentioned it, more of a finesse player who wins with his footwork. This, occasionally he's got a mean streak on the second level because he can get to those linebackers pretty easily with his footwork, with his athleticism. But I need to see him explode out of his stance a little bit more on the first level when it comes to run blocking. I think his hand usage and pass protection could be better. This is a raw player. Look, and I think, is there a chance he could be really, really good with better coaching and even more polish on him? Absolutely. He's still young. He's still very athletic as long as he comes back from the knee injury. But you mentioned it. It's inconsistent for me. I think that's the big thing. A finesse player who is at times inconsistent, especially with regards to power and strength. I think there is more of a gamble here than there is with the 4 guys that we have ahead of them, right? And he's probably more talented than, say, a Josh Connerly, or he's as talented as he might be as talented as, say, a Kelvin Banks, but he has to put it together on a snap-for-snap basis, and he's the guy that you wish could have played through the entire way with all those great defensive lines that Ohio State faced, right? Penn State, Michigan, Tennessee, Texas, even Notre Dame. Like, you would have loved to see him play against that competition. Because if he were to dominate the way he was first half of the year against the softer competition, then you're talking about, holy hell, this guy could have been a top 10 pick, right? If he were to dominate, but we don't get to see it. There's also the chance that, okay, we didn't get to see it. Maybe it's a struggle. Maybe it's still middling grades, and he could have dropped down further. Now, because he got hurt, we're riding in between on this. So it's kind of the way we have to go. I'm just not as sure on Josh Simmons as I am with the 4 guys that we have ahead of him, and that's really the best way I can put it. Boomer bust, if a team takes him late in the first round and they go, look, we think the potential's all there, we think we can get to that ceiling, then absolutely take him. If you have a plan and you have a plan to get to that ceiling and you can use that athleticism to your advantage, he could be a great player. It's just a matter of we just haven't seen him consistently be that great player yet.
He was such a complicated guy to watch for me, at least, because when I was watching him, you see the grades and all that. Like, there are times, obviously there are a lot of times, when guys just, something clicks for them, right? And they become an elite player after having, middling years before that. That could have happened with Josh Simmons, right? The elite tape that we saw in the first half of the year could have been something he just continues throughout the entire season. But because he got hurt, it's now more complicated because, okay, did he actually become an elite player? Or did he have elite tape against really bad competition? That's the question. If he played like elite competition at the beginning of the year and had that tape, I'd be like, okay, maybe that was something that just clicked for him and he's going to be that all year. But the fact that it came against very, very, a lot of group of 5 teams, then not really great Big Ten teams either. That's where it's a problem for me. It was like, okay, I don't know what's real and what's not real with Josh Simmons. And the fact that his tape at the year before at Ohio State was very inconsistent. The year before at San Diego State, I thought was not good at all. I don't think he was a very good player at San Diego State the year before that either. It makes it very complicated. Again, I understand why with the trades why you want to bet on him in the first round, but with the injury and the fact that his tape this year kind of came against relatively easy competition. That's why I'm at 5 in this list, and honestly a distant 5th compared to the other 4 guys.
I think it is. I understand. Again, if you're a scout taking the ceiling argument, and that's more important to you in this process, then I get why Simmons is higher. I do get it. But it takes projection, and that's the fun part about all of this is there are certain players where you go, okay, some guys you know what they are right now. Yep. This is what I talked about with Donovan Jackson earlier. I know exactly what Donovan Jackson is. I think he's one of the safest players to project in the entire draft. We're going to get guys like that. Then we're going to get guys like Simmons who you go, maybe a little more of a lottery ticket feel, and I understand if you think of it in that scope, and I want the best players with the most potential. Simmons will be higher than 5.
Yeah.
And that's why even Trevor has him higher than OT5, right? And it's like what he can be, but you also have to understand you better have the process right in the development for what he can be in getting there. So right now, is he the safest pick? No. Is that why I have a couple other guys ahead of him? Yes, but there is certainly talent to work with. It's that balance of finding, okay, this is what we need to do with this guy and having this process to get there.
It's funny that, the guy who is maybe the safest player in our top 10, was the replacement for Josh Simmons at left tackle. And then Josh Simmons, of course, the biggest boomer bust guy, was the original left tackle for Ohio State. So, yeah, both coming from the left side of the offensive line, the safest player at offensive line and maybe the biggest boomer bust guy in the offensive line as well. Hey, thanks for watching another episode of the PFF College Football Show. Please make sure you guys subscribe to the channel.
Also, subscribe to PFF Plus at subscribe.pff.com for all of the same data and grades that we use in our show, plus fantasy tools, betting tools, and our mock draft simulator.